The child looked around for a while and then stuck out a note hidden in his hand. Benito, it was a strange province. I'll go back and look through the map later. I was going to nod my head and take the note, but the child took the note, pushed it into his mouth, and swallowed it. I was so surprised that I looked at him with a bewildered face, but the child laughed with a casual look. I heard that confidentiality is the most important thing. I don't even know what was written anyway. What if you get sick? I grew up eating food thrown on the streets, so a small piece of paper isn't going to hurt me. Humph, the snorting child looked so cute as he pushed away the teacup. If you work hard, you should be rewarded. Come on, eat as much as you want. We can pack it if you have any leftovers. Are you sure? Do you mind if I eat everything? That's why I ordered it. The child didn't know what to do, but then he started pushing food into his mouth. I was worried about indigestion, but I didn't bother to bring it up. Anakin stared at me as I said. You can eat too if you want. No, it's just. It's just? What do you intend to do? That place is quite far from here. It'll take a good 15 days. 15 days. It was going to be my adult ceremony in 15 days. Should I go after the coming-of-age ceremony? I was thinking about it, but the child secretly raised his hand while eating. I can make it. No, I want to talk to the priest myself. Although he had retired, it said he was also a high priest, so if he looks at me, he will recognize that I am a stranger at a glance. Then the story will be easier. First, I beckoned to Anakin. Anakin handed the child a small pouch of gold coins. That's the amount I promised. Thank you. I'll take care of your share separately, so give every penny of it to him. At my words, the child couldn't hide his disappointed expression. You really tried to steal it. Did you sell those earrings? No. Why? Because it would be a waste. It was the first time I worked to earn something and it wasn't taken away. Taken away? When I stared at Anakin, Anakin blinked and said. It is the boy's father. He got into alcohol and gambling, begging, and taking money. Aren't you two living together? He was drunk and got into a fight. He died. The child spat on the floor as if it was a habit. He scraped it off with his foot. I'm not a relative, so I've been protecting him in the name of rent. And now? Now I'm protecting myself. But you still have a long way to go to adulthood. The child sucked his jam-stained finger and spoke as if it didn't matter. They're going to be acting as adults anyway. Far from thinking about being protected, we're all probably thinking about eating. At this point, all the kids in the slums are living on their own, so it's okay. He said he was like that, so I nodded because I didn't want to speak any further. Suddenly there was a murmur around, and I looked up, and Helena and Hubris were walking from afar. Oops, I quickly lowered my head and pressed my hat down to cover my face. Fortunately, I didn't think they saw me. Sir, are you not a priest? I'll show you upstairs. An employee who recognized Hubris tried to guide him to the 5th floor. Maybe Hubris cared about people's eyes since he went up to eat. Then Helena poked Hubris in the ribs. And shook her head. Oh, no. Hey, I'm going to eat here. Right? Please prepare it here. Helena whispered as the waiter disappeared. I also stabbed Anakin by his sides and asked. What did she just say? I'm not a noble person, so I'll get in trouble if I go to the 5th floor. Crazy, really. Come to think of it, Helena in the novel didn't know that he was the high priest until the middle part. No, how do you not know? Because the clothes were different for the priest and the high priest, I could not know. Did the employee know at a glance? No, and the employee guided him, so why did he step out and stop it? It was such a great mystery. After a while, a 5-tier dessert stand was placed in front of Helena and Hubris. This was possible because the high priest was treated similarly to the nobility, regardless of his origin. Helena seemed unable to tell the difference between a 5-tier stand and a 3-tier stand. Anyway, when the stand was placed, the atmosphere around them changed. The people in conversation started peeking at Hubris and Helena. Hubris was the youngest high priest of all time, so he was famous among the priests. No, apart from all that, it's weird not to look at the way they looked. Bright silver hair and purple eyes. Helena, with a lovely smile that would melt everyone's heart, always shone without a single light. Hubris, who sat in front of her, also had a formidable face. He had straight black hair on top of chestnut, skin color of the finest melted chocolate, strong features, and looked more like a royal from a foreign country than the current one. Furthermore, the garb of a high priest, who was dressed in a perfect fit, was clearly meant to be ascetic, but its effects backfired as it created a sexy look that calls for it to be peeled off. Helena and Hubris started a conversation. Anakin glanced at me asking if I wanted to hear their conversation, so I nodded my head. It was obvious even if he didn't say. I guess everyone is looking at you because you're handsome. If you like it, you can eat it. Sweet things make people feel good. Don't pay attention to other people's eyes. And what else was it? It was a sweet, angelic thing to say anyway. Such a pretty girl only says nice things. I think I would have fallen in love too. Furthermore, Hubris can see the color of her soul. If ordinary people's souls were just yellow, Helena's soul was colored with gold, and more beautiful than anyone else. Come to think of it, I should have asked. What color was my soul? Oh, he's laughing. Hubris laughed. Interestingly, even though Hubris is a human being, I didn't expect him to laugh so softly. Did Alex, who always frowned, and Jason, who always smiled, smile like that too whenever they saw Helena? It was a very strange feeling. The sharp difference between disliking me and actually liking everyone but me. Even when I tried not to care, the helplessness that was forced to come was a little hard. There's no one in the world who can help me but Helena. Then I looked up. No, there was someone. As soon as I sent the child out en route, ran to the witch's shop. I knew Anakin was running after me, but I couldn't stop. I felt dizzy. I managed to get to the door of the store, but the store was closed. I pulled the doorknob because I couldn't believe it. The rattling doorknob that refuses to open announced that this place was empty. Open the door. Master. Open the door. I started knocking hard on the door. If there was a suitable blunt instrument, I wanted to break the window. Passers-by glanced at me but soon went away. They must have thought I was a mad woman. Anakin grabbed my hand and wrapped it with a handkerchief as I began to get a scar on my hand. I felt suffocated, strangled. I lightly scraped down the wooden door with the tip of my fingernail. Please. You said you'd help me if it was dangerous. This was such a day. I thought I didn't really want it, but it became something I want to have because every child other than me has it. I don't even like Vikings, but the mini Viking in front of the elementary school sports day made me want to hold cotton candy that I didn't want to eat, and I don't care about the maker, but all the classmates have it, so I asked them to buy it. Now I know. Actually, I wanted to get confirmation. No matter how useless it is, I wanted to be sure that my parents would be happy to listen to me for my happiness. I say I hate them, but then I miss my parents, even if I say something really bad. Please. I couldn't breathe. It was so hard mentally that I wanted to bite my tongue and die. I needed someone in this world who knew me. Someone who knows me and will like me. I wish I had at least one person on my side. So I ran to the only helper I knew, and the door was locked. I thought it was raining because my feet were wet. Looking up at the sky, I realized it was my tears. Anakin quietly watched me. I wanted to retort, "What are you looking at?" Instead, he hugged me. "Do you want me to open the door?" I nodded blankly. Anakin asked me to step aside for a moment. As soon as I took a few steps back, he picked up his sword and cut the door straight down. The wooden door, which was quite huge and sturdy, cracked. Before I could open my mouth in surprise, he kicked the cracked door, strode in, and looked around. "It's safe." Why did you destroy the door?" "Because the door was locked," Anakin said with a very casual expression. There seemed to be no guilt felt for destroying the door. He even asked me again. Whoever you're waiting for, I think we'd better sit down and wait. Did I misjudge what you wanted? He spoke calmly and led me to a suitable chair. Yeah, if the door isn't open, one would need to break it. If you don't have bread, you eat cake, right? When I saw his ridiculous expression, everything that I had suffered suddenly felt empty. I was dumbfounded and laughed as I sat on the sofa in the store that he led me to. How long have we been waiting? Suddenly the witch who was coming in stood at the entrance and screamed. No, I gave you a mirror to contact me, but instead you decided to break an innocent door? I didn't break it. He did it. The door was locked, so I broke it. The witch pointed to Anakin in astonishment, and Anakin shamelessly admitted his guilt. A comical situation ensues. That's what I'm talking about now. The witch hit Anakin on the back without hesitation with her long, beautifully trimmed nails, and Anakin paid the price silently without a single retaliation. I felt a little better because the scene was funny. I'll pay for the door, so stop. What brings you here? I'm in a bad mood. Say something. So that I can feel better. You're arbitrary. So are you going to kick me out? The witch smiled slightly at my words and fixed the door with a single gesture. The door became intact, as if it had never been broken. Is it okay for you to show your skills to outsiders? Oh, if I thought he was an outsider, I'd have him leave at all costs. Like the first day you came. It was a deft smile. It was like that apart from the interfaith relationship, Anakin was not a man who would go to the temple and accuse the witch. I'd rather forget so that I don't have to be bothered. Leaving that behind, she brought us downstairs. While I was still confused with bubbling pots and medicinal herbs. She made the teacup float, and with a single gesture, placed it in my hand. I was suspicious of what was inside this tea, so I took a sip, but only after making Anakin taste it first. It was a fragrant herbal tea. What would you like to talk about this world? What would you like to talk about, right? Do you know the difference between magic engineering and magic? Is there a difference? Magic engineering is fundamentally close to theology. No, not close to theology, but from theology. The witch thought for a moment, then began to explain, hiding behind a cloth, as if showing a shadow play. People often say that theology is the study of life and magic is the study of death, but it is actually a false metaphor. Both life and death are governed by theology. Theology is connected with the truth that makes up this world beyond simply believing in good and evil and in creation. For example, a life dies when it is too seriously hurt, the absolute and natural truth. Magical engineering is thoroughly exercised under that truth. To create new laws based on the truth of theology. That is magical engineering. Don't you know? When a lightning bolt falls from the sky and hits a tree, it catches fire. This is a natural phenomenon, or truth. Mankind, who is taking this for granted, one day thinks of this. If you artificially create a thunderbolt, wouldn't it be easy to ignite it anywhere, anytime? The first magic engineer was close to an inventor. That's why they're called engineers. They found that formulating a formula yields a corresponding power. Once they set up the formula, they ran without blockage. The water vapor in the air gathers to make it rain, refracted light is used to create illusions, or changes in the temperature of the atmosphere is used to induce wind. At first glance, it seemed to be about creation, but it was not, and this was impossible because it was a violation of the truth. Countless magicians tried tirelessly to get closer to God, but all of them failed, and most of them were cursed and faced a terrible end. So, gradually, rules were created and breaking the truth became taboo. If theology is the truth that makes up the world, and magical engineering is to set rules under that truth, then magic is a very different nature. Magic breaks, twists, or ignores all of those truths and rules. The reason I can let you go is the same. By twisting the rules of life that make it a must to be reborn here, you can connect with your original world. Of course, we pay the price. Although it's kind that humans cannot understand it all. I was listening to her and suddenly thought of it and asked. Can't a man Use the power of a witch? Well, something like a wizard. A wizard? That's an interesting idea. The witch laughed for a while and said, I have to make you laugh, but you make me happy. Last time you asked if we would leave any offspring. Magic is not an inherited trait. What should I say? It has nothing to do with innate talent, like magic engineering or theology. The witch paused for a moment, then lit a fire from her hand. Beyond the flickering flame, Medea was looking terrifying. The sharp flesh that makes a person's heart eerie just by looking at it. Witches are a race that evolves when they feel desperate. However, their consciousness must be strong enough to destroy all the truths that bind them. When they evolve, they are no longer a creation of God, but a completely separate race. Being a living thing allows us to be free from all causal rules and laws regulated by this world. The witch gazes at Anakin, the only man in the room with cold eyes. Men are too fragile to believe in such a principle. They are emotional, easily understood, and have a hard time giving up quickly. No, let's go ahead and say. Shall I say that they have never suffered enough to have impulsiveness? In most civilizations, men are usually rules makers. If you're so great, why don't people know of witches? There are many people who will be in trouble when others begin to notice the existence of witches. These are mainly powerful people. Since witches don't come from a high rank, these people's justification and their belief that the basis of their precious status and power are given to them by heaven would be shaken. The witch playfully drew a cross. She seemed somehow used to it. Before she became a witch, would Medea have been a priestess? Because they have to trust witches and be afraid of them, they covered up thoroughly from the beginning. It's erasing the existence of history altogether. The addition of a magic to magical engineering is one of its initiatives. There was no such thing as magic in the first place. Everything I thought was magical was magic pottery. Didn't you say you were the only one who was persecuted when we first met? Well, each individual may have different standards of persecution. What do you think? Infested with worms and rats, threatening that if you don't give up your house quickly, they'll be more active. It's a definite persecution from our point of view. Medea pretended to cry abominably. It was all crocodile tears. By the way, she is out of her causality. If so, it was convincing that the existence of a witch did not appear in the novel. It is a character that the author, who is the god of the novel, has not set. Don't worry too much, though. Oh, even with great power, a witch cannot destroy the world. Why? Even if a witch with such a heart appears, the sisters keep each other in check. In severe cases, we can vote to kill them. Well, usually, most of the witches who are tired of living apply for a vote that they want to die. Having said that, Medea somehow looked a little subdued. Then she looks at me and smiles. It's a shame, the stranger has what it takes to be our sister. If you wanted to stay, I could help you. I also think being a witch would be happier than being a fiancé. Yes. Having the human man on this side as a familiar. We talked for a long time after that. Some futures that will never come true, but make you smile. Just by using your imagination. The scene shifts to Helena antebellum Ion past. If you're low in status but beautiful, you'll have a lot of luck. When I was a child, my mother sometimes hung around in front of me with a knife. Grabbing my cheek and holding a knife again and again. She would let go, and then she'd drop her knife and cry. Knowing her thinking, I wouldn't blame my mother for cutting my face. If our family hadn't been framed and destroyed, she wouldn't be like this. Sometimes on the days she couldn't hold back, my mother drank and cried until she became hoarse, missing her dead family. I soothed the mother until she fell asleep. Mother, don't cry. Everything will be fine. I was really fine, but my mother, in her heart, always felt like she owed me a debt. I don't even know that the debt comes heavier to me. Be nice. I can no longer protect you. Mother said it like a habit. To laugh no matter how hard things are, to pretend you don't know without saying anything. Like an idiot without a screw, I lived that way. I was as good as a protruding edge from the palace. Everyone felt sorry for me. Now a commoner and a low-ranking maid, but before that she was a noble family member and even had ties to the royal family. Since my mother was the crown prince's nanny, Alec was practically my baby brother, and Her Majesty, who had no daughter, adored me. When I tried to do the laundry or clean up according to my junior maid's routine, Alex or the madam called me. Antebellum, Her Majesty is calling. Go ahead. But I haven't finished my part today? How dare you keep her waiting? While doing the laundry, the maid's scolding came. When I hesitated again and again. Because I felt sorry for the maid, she jabbed me in the side. Let's go. Before you get in trouble again. I'm so sorry. If there are snacks, I'll get them and give them to you. I'm so sorry. When I was a child, I was ignorant and stubborn. I did not leave until I'm done. I thought it was right, and I believed it should be. When I came back from work, I was whipped to the point of bleeding by my mother for coming home on time, but I was rather proud. My burning legs seemed to prove my legitimacy. One day, I found a maid who was verbally abused by Alex for not bringing me in. She accepted my apology with a tired face and said, "You are in a position to serve them. Don't turn down the order." Only then did I know. No matter how sensitive they are to me or how much they love me, they and I are divided by a clear difference in status. I didn't have the right to refuse in the first place. If I don't go, someone else will be disadvantaged. What an unfair contradiction. Even if I go or not, someone loses. I felt like I was drifting sometimes. I don't belong anywhere, and they don't accept me even if they try to adapt. When I think about it, she hated me from the day I first met her. It was common for her to secretly kick my shin from under the table or trample my feet with high heels. Even at a young age, she frequently ripped into me, lied to get me into trouble and enjoyed it. Because I'm a commoner, the intensity grew worse when I realized I couldn't hurt her. There was a tea party with Jason, Eris, and Alec, who insisted I was his childhood friend and I deserved it. Jason said that it doesn't matter, but Eris didn't like the fact that she was sitting at the same table as a commoner. She lured me into saying something so that she could put me into a corner closet. Eris. Please let me out. Don't call me Eris. I don't know how many people are there. Do you really think you've become a noble because Her Majesty treats you kindly? Or do you dare want to raise your status as a subject of the traitor's household? But how do I do what Her Majesty's orders? When she shouted in resentment, Eris snapped sharply with her eyes drawn between the cracks. Why should I care about your circumstances? Whether you're pretending to die or breaking your leg, take care of it yourself. If you act presumptuously once more, you will be sold to the brothel so that you can raise your status as you wish. And Eris turned around and disappeared. I was left crumpled in a narrow, dark closet that wouldn't open. I might have been locked up for a few more days if the maid in the same room hadn't told him I didn't come back. Alec and Her Majesty went out in a fit of rage to find the culprit, but both I and Eris kept silent. Eris, as she hugged me, cried out loud. Helena, you don't know how worried I was. Lady. Oh, just call me Eris. It was in front of everyone. And she whispered in my ear, remember what I said. Eris grabbed my trembling hand and laughed dazzlingly at me. Yes, I think I hated her a little at that time. Since that day, if I was confined in a dark and narrow place, I have developed a condition where I cannot even breathe well. Eris was a child who always worked hard. If she was like others, she doubled her effort, and if she was less than others, she worked 3 times harder than others. She said she had to always be the best. I didn't know what drove her that way. She whipped herself like she couldn't tolerate mistakes. She'll always have another chance, but why would she think that being behind once is so humiliating? Alecto always had a bad word with Eris. The reason was that the Marquis had a snake-like sneaky side, and so did Eris. Alecto called me out, so I stopped working and came to him in the back garden. Then I saw Eris crying, out of breath, in the corner of the back garden. She was crying with her hands tightly covered over her mouth, just in case the cry could leak. She looked so small and young, curled up. I hid myself because thought I saw something I shouldn't have seen. Far away, Electo was walking around to find me. And then, as soon as she heard his voice, she wiped away her tears. In that short time, she wiped away her sorrow, armed herself with a thick mask, and smiled like a flower at Alex. It felt strange to see such a young child moving towards such a difficult future with such heavy clothes and makeup. If I were a noble, would I be stepping towards the same future as her? I couldn't seem to hold out. No matter how despised you are, one can't live like that. We will never understand each other. But on that sunny day in early summer, I decided I'd forgive her no matter what she did to me. Regardless of my commitment, my mother hated Eris. No, it wasn't just hate, it was almost wrathful. The Mazirian family framed them, and was blamed for the collapse of the antebellum family. In present. Since the imperial family said it was the coming-of-age ceremony soon, I was also preparing for the region of Bonitillo where the new priest in question lives. The Bonitillo region is quite far from the capital, and it was a mountainous area that required a 15 days by round trip. When people are in difficult times, they go to the countryside and the priest there helps them with their needs. It doesn't matter the time it takes to go after the coming-of-age ceremony anyway. Priest Prometheus was the high priest who became famous for the prophecies related to Jason, and unfortunately, he has no contact with Eris. Besides, Bonitillo was really a cancan in slang. Why would I go on a trip to a place like that? It does seem like I'm going to see Priest Prometheus. Moreover, in the Bonitillo region, there was no villa for the Mazirian Marquis. I can't lie about going to a place where there's no villa, and after I was troubled while looking at the map for a long time, the maid looked at the map and she said it's summer soon, so would you like to go on a trip? Yes. Then, it turns out that the Magico train will open soon. It is quite fast and it can ride a lot of people. Magico train? My maid drew with her fingers from one end to the other end of her map. Her fingers crossed Bonitillo. It's a train powered by magic engineering. They have been building the railroad tracks for a while. And the cost was so negligible, and there was a lot of talk about it. They said that the trial operation has ended and it will officially open at the end of this month. How fast is it? Listening to the story, it seems to be slower than a carriage. Oh, but it's faster than a carriage. Don't carriages rely on horses? Magico trains don't have to and are at least 3 times faster than carriages. This is it. I wanted to cheer, but I held back. Instead, I called Anakin after my maid had left. I have a job his younger brother can do. Finally, the day before the coming-of-age ceremony came. Adult ceremonies in this country have the custom where one cannot sleep at all for a day. Something about God's protection being released for a while on coming-of-age day, and when you fall asleep, evil spirits occupy your body? Since my coming-of-age ceremony is organized by the royal family, it was said that sleeping in the imperial palace the day before would be good in the interest of saving time. Since the prince and the marquis only have to attend the night party anyway, I was ordered to enter the palace with only Duet, my maid, and Anakin, my knight. It was fortunate that I was allowed to enter the palace after dinner at the marquis mansion. If I ate with the imperial family during dinner, I would have an upset stomach. As I rode in the carriage, I stared out the window blankly and suddenly asked Anakin, who was sitting opposite me. What was your coming of age like? No. Did you have an adult ceremony? The shrine regularly does relief work, which includes giving divine blessings to children in the slums. So? Anyway, the slum children become adults earlier. Because they have to make a living. Most of the children attend to receive food and clothes at the end of the ceremony. I'm not interested in other slum children. I want to hear your story. Anakin looked at me silently, then sighed and said. They woke us up early in the morning. Gave us an unusual thing to eat, made us pray, put some holy water on our heads and harassed us by hitting the floor with a hanging pole so that we couldn't sleep. There wasn't a banquet or anything. No matter how poor it was, you lived in the capital, so there must have been a lot of support. Anakin lived in the neighborhood last time. If it is, it means that a coming-of-age ceremony was held at a temple in the capital. The temple in the capital would be the largest and richest in the empire. Someone must have been embezzling it. I don't know that. The important thing is that I received clothes and food at the end. If they perform it with money, they're afraid it would be stolen. Even if they gave us an item, there were many people who would take it from us and sell it. What about you? I sold it before it was taken. We made eye contact and smirked at the same time. I know how you feel. The hurry to get his hands on it before it's taken away. It's happiness that you can taste even though you know it's going to disappear soon. The New Year's money received as a child was just like that. The money was all in my savings account, but how unfair it was that it was taken away by my mom when I was young and only one 10,001 bill was left in my hand. When my friends bought what they wanted to buy, saying they received New Year's money, I couldn't even spend it because I would be wasting the 10,001 in my pocket. Was there anything you wanted enough to sell off clothes and food? I wanted a sword. It wasn't made by roughly cutting out branches, but a sword with a blade and weight. Tasked when we almost arrived at the Imperial Palace because his face was so cute. If you want a sword, can I buy you a good one? Anakin looked a little surprised and then shook his head. Thank you for your kindness, but a familiar sword is more comfortable when it comes to protecting someone. He said so and followed me silently. He always walks about 3 steps behind me. He is not close enough to feel uncomfortable, but he can be there at once if someone tries to hurt me. Such a distance. I liked the distance. Even if you don't look back, you can check it with shadows. As soon as the sun rose, I was woken up. I struggled to wake up this morning because I have low blood pressure and it was hell last night. I couldn't sleep and ended up needing to change my bed. Now, was so sleepy that I slept in the middle of bathing. It must have been hard for Anakin with me half asleep, to ask for my permission in order to carry me. When I opened my eyes, Hubris was watching me with a fine face. Oh, right. He was the high priest. Wondered if it was better than a completely unknown face. When I waved my hand, another priest put a veil on me. In the Empire, women wore a veil twice and men wore a veil once. It means that both men and women wear a veil at adult ceremonies. There was also a religious reason. All the sins contained in the body were kept in a veil to prevent them from escaping, and holy water was poured onto it to cleanse it. After that, the high priest put a handmade veil anointed with perfumed oil on both eyes and mouth to bless them to not be stained with sins in the future. Hubris slowly poured out the holy water in the brass bowl. Cool water poured for my cleansing. It was cool, but the wet veil and clothes stuck to me, so I didn't feel so pleasant. No wonder they dressed me lightly. With my tongue in my mouth, I closed my eyes and waited for the next turn. Hubris's hand passed the veil. What? Why are you holding it still? When I opened my eyes due to the strangeness, Hubris looked at my face for a long time then hurriedly swept my eyes. His fingers were dry and soft. Holy Father, rejoice. Wrong. As I pointed out, Hubris again poured perfume on my fingers with a trembling hand. As I closed my eyes again and he touched both of my eyelids, he hesitated, this time on my lips. Seriously. It's not like he's done it once or twice, but him dragging his feet, really. I got annoyed and just stuck out my head and pressed my lips against Hubris's thumb and stood up. All right. Yeah, let's go, I'm busy. When Hubris failed to answer, I pulled the wet veil off and threw it down. My legs throbbed when I was on my knees. How frustrating. Then, in the distance, Helena was seen running, as usual. She seemed to have no idea what she was going to be in the future. I thought I'd catch her and give her a word, but I left it alone because I thought it would be better for her to experience the results for herself. There's nothing I can do even if I look into it. When I returned to the room after watching Helena, the fully prepared women welcomed me with expressions that one would have just before the competition. Yeah, let's just worry about myself. I don't know if can make it to the banquet alive today, and as soon as I sighed, 4 women gathered together and changed my clothes. I wore stockings made of silk, and I didn't wear a corset because I insisted I didn't want to die, but instead they hung a cotton pouch that looked rich on the hips. One more skirt on top of that. Put on a light top, and then do it again with another skirt. When I freaked out about how many layers of clothes I was wearing, women comforted me by saying that it was summer and it's trendy, so my back was slightly open and that I had no panels on my chest. As I finished getting dressed, they divided their time to get my hair and face decorated. One was busy combing my hair and another was applying powder. They braided my hair, pinned it, and applied multiple makeup layers. At the moment when I was exhausted and wanted to faint, they put on necklaces, bracelets, rings, and put my shoes on. The attendant was mesmerized by the sight of my face as she carefully moved the mirror. She put a full-length mirror in front of me only after the court lady announced in a loud voice that was almost like a scream. "You're so beautiful." Certainly I was a little unrealistically beautiful in the mirror. No, I was more like a craft than a human being. The dark green dress tailored to the color of my eyes was more of an art than clothes with the island's gold thread embroidery, and the diamonds on my hands, ears, and neck simply shone. Not only that, but the braided hair also had a star-shaped pin made of diamonds and gold. I couldn't believe I had a face that doesn't get pushed back even though I was wearing something that glitters like this. It was even a little scary. What's the point of working so hard like this? The person I can actually see has a heart in the bean field. Let's go when you're ready. What? His Highness hasn't come yet. He won't come. He must have gone to escort Helena now. The attendant looked bewildered as I stepped out the door. It means that he already knows everything when he sees my action, yet he can't say anything but wait. If you go to the venue and look at people's faces, you'll find out who's involved in this. As I strode along, there was a heavy silence. If you look at the atmosphere, it's not a coming-of-age ceremony, but a general going to war. I've reached the entrance of the banquet hall, the people are stunned. Everyone was looking at me with a "No, why are you here already?" alone, stuck on their foreheads. This was because it was customary to get escorted by your fiancé if you have a fiancé. I scanned the area, and I saw Jason in a corner. "Sir Khazar, would you hold my hand?" "What?" Jason looked at me with a face asking if I was insane. He would be like that, because while this is a coming-of-age ceremony, part of it was about the engagement between the prince and heiress. If Eris had been alone so far even after the fact that she had been verbally announced as his fiancé between families, then from now on, as his fiancé, she would be treated at the expense of the crown prince. In addition to the expanded interpretation, someone else escorting me was like a declaration of propaganda against the imperial family. There's no way any noble here will do that. I chose Jason because he was on the same level as Eris in many ways. The eldest son of a duke family and a warrior who saved the empire. Even a childhood friend of the prince, it was good to use that fact as a shield. Besides, there was no knight in the empire that would refuse the request of a lady. Jason approached me with a grim look and held my hand. "Lady Miserin, the eldest daughter of the Marquis and fiancée of the Crown Prince, is entering." When the servant, who had been wary, announced my position, Jason took my hand and slowly led me to the center of the ceremony. The eyes of all the nobles were drawn. All expressed very confused faces, but I decided to take it easy just because Eris was pretty. I was starting to become hungry, so I was looking around to put something in my mouth, but Jason grabbed me and asked. "What happened? What about him? Can't you see? I'm sure he went to pick up Lord Khazar's partner." "What?" Jason asked back with a stupid face. I replied to the face as if it were something new. "You know she's not cold-hearted enough to stand you up." That can't be true. It's a coming-of-age ceremony for the love of God." "No way. It's the young lady's coming of age." "How come?" "They say that falling in love blinds you." Apart from that, it was a very sneaky thing. How someone tries to steal a woman to bring her to her coming of age. There was no such thing as a thief's symbol or such a thief's mind. "How did you know Helena was with him?" Jason's troublesome question was ignored. "Well, I guess it's a big deal that I'm here early." The servant's face turned blue. Here comes the Lord of Eastern Kendall, protector of the Kalen River, and Marquis Mizran, Lord of Rambeau. My daughter. The Marquis, who was coming in with a bright smile, suddenly stopped walking. Of course, the Crown Prince deserved it because he was going somewhere and with another person. As soon as the frowning Marquis tried to bring it up, the servant heralded a tumultuous disturbance. Give an example. The heart of the empire, the protector of the faith, the master of the land, Emperor Kratos I and the Empress enter. Everyone in the hall bowed deeply towards the entrance. The Emperor and Empress were greeted skillfully and they walked straight to me. Beautiful, beautiful. You are so beautiful that it's poisonous to the eyes. It's a dazzling afternoon, Your Majesty and Empress. Since you provided a place for us in person, we will regard it as an honor to the family, and in the future, we will continue to care for the inner rather than the exterior and we will be more loyal than vain. From knowing you, it is evidence that you already possess a mature inside. By the way, the side of you is empty. Where did Alex go? At his question I just laughed. Sometimes laughter explains a lot of things. But without that, the snow of today's storm quickly entered. His Majesty, Prince Alex, the Lord of the Maranello region and the Knight of the royal family, is entering with Helena antebellum. When the door opened, there was a crushing silence. Even a morgue couldn't be so creepily quiet. Some even rubbed their eyes as if they couldn't believe it. Oh, it was worth it. Helena is wearing the same dress as me right now. Helena was truly astonishingly beautiful, as the woman in the novel recognized as the most beautiful person in the world. Still, it would be dazzling because the prince brought an originally pretty girl and polished it. When I looked in the mirror, Eris wasn't really real either, but Helena added something else. The aura is different. I don't think she's a human being. As far as I'm concerned, whether Helena was a fairy, a pure human being, or whatever, I had a strong feeling that God worked hard on her. To exaggerate a little, it was a beauty that was close to a final weapon created by mankind. When I was admiring Helena's face, she looked at me, or to be exact, at my clothes, and turned pale. Shivering like a tree, she refused with her feet pressed when the crown prince tried to take her into the ceremony despite being embarrassed by the unexpected situation. I'm going to. Yes. I want to change. Let me change. The end was almost like a scream. Poor Helena, it's getting tough because you're beautiful. I looked straight at her and allowed her. You may go change, Lady Antebellum. Helena. When permission was given, Helena turned and escaped, and the crown prince called her name anxiously. Your Majesty, I know you have a lot to say, but I want to talk to him first. Will you allow me to do this? I turned to appease the emperor before the already red-faced emperor burst into anger. The emperor gave his face a good smoothing over and nodded to allow it. What I want to be is not a tragic heroine. Gathering sympathy was enough for those days when there was no money nor power. I smiled and reached out to the crown prince. Come here, Your Highness. Come when I say nice words. I'm holding it in because I want to kill him. Well, this is how the story should go originally. Helena should not be able to attend if she was originally in her position, but the story was different when Jason, a great nobleman, said he would bring her as a partner. Perhaps Jason sent a dress to Helena to match his clothes. With a gorgeous dress coming, of course, it would get in and out from the mouths of the maids, and naturally, the fact that Helena was attending with Jason would have entered the prince's ears. I don't care how jealous the crown prince must have been. Anyway, the crown prince made a plan to tell Jason that Helena is his woman, to screw me over, and to take care of everything. He dared to steal the clothes that Jason gave her, and even deceived Helena, who would have just put on the same dress. And I would have put it on too, and be outrightly compared. My dress was original too. This was natural. In order to make and sell the product again, designers usually leave an extra suit in case my clothes had an accident. The question is, how did you convince Madame to give the duplicate dress? It was impossible for the crown prince alone. This is because Madame's main clientele, which is said to be the Princess of Amon, was not part of the royal family, but an aristocratic socialite. There couldn't be a way to give a commoner a dress that was ordered by a noble, as it would degrade trust, and at the same time, the value of the clothes. They were determined to get Eris offended. And there was only one person who would want to make her feel that way. Empress. I usually thought she liked Helena, but at this point, she is hating Eris instead of favoring Helena. In the book, Eris waits until the crown prince arrives, and she will not leave unless he does. After a defeat, the servant dragged her out. I read that Helena, who wears the same dress as her and laughs with people with a more aristocratic appearance, while Eris ran away like Helena just did. But I didn't want to do so, hence I came out first and it changed a little. Originally, the crown prince, Helena, the marquis, and then the emperor and empress, and finally, Eris, came out. But when the message that I entered first came, the marquis and the emperor, of course, thought that the crown prince also arrived first, and departed earlier than expected. In the original, Eris's game was very different. It was also the anger that Eris, who was desperate, showed off her unfamiliar behavior for the first time. Thanks to that, Helena and the prince's companionship had been buried a little, but, well, it wasn't something I wanted to worry about. What am I supposed to do? We were out in the hallway for a moment. The moon's light shone on us. The crown prince tried to open his mouth first, but I raised my hand to stop him. Where can a sinner open his mouth first? Every time he opens his mouth, he lies with excuses. Your Majesty. Do you hate me? What? I wasn't asking for an answer. If he didn't hate me, would he have done something like this? No matter how much harassment is scheduled, having the first-hand experience was annoying. In particular, the crown prince's perverted taste was very annoying. I approached the crown prince with strides. He took a step back, and I put my feet on the wall next to him so that he couldn't run away at all. You hate me, Your Majesty? You somehow want me to be sick and lonely, right? So when you came into the hall, you looked at my face before His Majesty's to see if I'm hurt. You. But Your Majesty. I wish I was dead. I was prepared to break it, but the small wounds will not hurt. I didn't want to see the crown prince's face, so I covered it with my palm and said, crushing it in his ear. So don't try to hurt me. It's the same. Leaving the confused prince alone, I turned around and walked out to the end of the corridor. As I opened the door, Jason was looking down at me with a complicated expression. You'll have to change your habit of being a rat. He should be chasing Helena, not me. I don't know why he is here. I gathered all the patience I had and laughed at Jason. Oh, are you leaving Lady Antebellum alone? The lady was stolen by His Majesty. But didn't Lord Khazar invite her? You have to take responsibility for her till the end. After that, I didn't make a sound and just moved my mouth. Move. As if he had read the shape of my mouth, he turned away with a confused expression. After passing through one more door, it is again the act of a splendid actress. When I enter, everyone looks at my face. No, it's not me. The person standing in front of their eyes is Eris Mazirian. Those faces as spectacles that wish you will mourn, the cruel anticipation that you will make your downfall. So I had to laugh. Eris, you'd rather be angry, but you didn't cry. If there is a side story in this novel, I wish it was your story, not the love story between Helena and the crown prince. So that I can understand what you were thinking and with what kind of heart you were jealous of Helena and loved the prince. But I don't know you even when I'm in your body. No one in your world knows you. Poor Eris, the terrible world wasn't interested in you. First of all, it was a coming-of-age ceremony, so I walked to the place where the emperor and the marquis were. It was quite crowded, but the people parted away to make it a path like a miracle of Moses. The two laughed well expressionlessly, even though the series of events that took place was embarrassing. I don't know how good a politician I can be at this moment. Baby bird, you're here. Did you have a good conversation? Damn it, I've lost my advantage. If the emperor makes such a conclusion, it becomes difficult for me to bring up my marriage. I looked at the marquis for help, but he smiled without realizing that he was looking at me. Oh, only then did I realize that the marquis may be on Eris's side, but not mine. He won't do anything to hurt Eris's reputation. Come to think of it, an internal combative relationship was not much of a scandal for aristocrats, whose fickleness was the norm. Not to mention, polygamy is officially allowed in the imperial family. To the extent this marriage was a political marriage. I guess I expected too much from a contract that is in each other's political interests. Even if Eris is infertile, the prince is right, which means he will not break up with Eris even if he brings Helena. When I think about that, the crown prince is only annoyed with me. Oh. I thought he was very sincere to Helena. I don't know why I'm shilly-shallying on that part, even if I'm trying my best. Honey, do you remember what I said? Are you talking about the 1980s when I wanted to wash my ears? I forced myself to open my mouth to the gaze that was pouring onto me. I'm not jealous. Yes, right. You've raised a wise daughter, Marquis. That's flattering. They giggled among themselves and went crazy. Ho ho, just laugh, and didn't care to please me, so I just nodded and got out of the room. They won't break off the engagement even though the engagement is a mess. I need to cause trouble again. By the way, it's a blur. In fact, Eris should run out instead of Helena, which was all the more so because the situation was reversed. I thought it would be better if I enjoyed the cool air, so I even took a step toward the back garden. A new year passed and the stars embroidered the sky beautifully. The wind was so nice that I briefly regretted that it would have been nice to have a drink while I was enjoying it. Teal, go get some drinks later. Before that, I looked around to find a suitable seat and heard a cry somewhere. This time, I was looking forward to seeing if it was a real ghost, and unfortunately, it was a person again. It wasn't a bunch of green. It was Helena. Helena was in tears, and then stood up in surprise at the sight of me. When she confirmed that it was me, her expression changed even more hopelessly. I thought a ghost would look better than that. When she wiped her tears with her hands in a hurry, she struggled to deny it in a trembling voice. I'm sorry. I really didn't know. This dress, mean. Helena closes her eyes tightly after giving a gibberish excuse. It was the prince who made her wear those clothes, but she couldn't get the prince's name out of her mouth in front of his fiancée. Not only can it be regarded as a slander, but it is impossible for the commoners to accuse the royal family in the first place. She hesitated for a long time to see if she had that much sense. In the end, what Helena managed to spit out was neither an excuse nor a clause. I'm sorry. It's you again. You apologize again. Neither the man who brought you nor the one who dressed you in my clothes apologize to me, but it's always you because you're the least powerful. Like a broken clock, she repeated the same words over and over again before bursting into tears. Helena frantically wiped her tears that were falling down with her hands. But the more she tried to stop, the more her tears kept falling. Helena smacked her head again and again. Like a child punishing herself. I cry too often. I shouldn't have done this, sorry. I'm sorry. What are you crying about? As a child, I wasn't allowed to be so sad when my mother scolded me. I didn't handle it well. I know that. I also know that in unreasonable circumstances tears are usually used for avoidance purposes. However, I hated my mother who tried to control even my tears that poured out without me realizing it. Tears don't need to be justified. I still don't like Helena Antebellum. I think she's too tactless, weak and stupid. But as I see you struggling to hold back your tears in front of me, I realize I was misunderstanding you. You don't have any pain, you'll be as happy as you are, even if your hands are unscathed, it's not like there's no wound in your heart. But I can't bear to hug you even after I got to know you. To get out of this world, I'll have to put a knife in you someday. It's okay. It's okay to cry. But I can at least tell you this one word. Right? That's right. I came out for a walk to feel better, but seeing Helena crying made me feel worse. In times like this, one has to use the power of alcohol. Sitting on a nearby bench, I called for someone to bring me a drink. Anakin, bring some alcohol. It hasn't been long since I called him. I couldn't pinpoint the time exactly because I didn't have a watch, but it would have been less than 5 minutes. He has already walked over to me with a wine glass in one hand and a small cloth in the other. It was sparkling wine. I took the glass and asked with a gesture of my head. What is that? Oh, this is. A small canopy came out when the cloth was untied. Looking at the slightly distorted shape made me smile. Canopy, a small piece of bread or pastry with a savory topping, served with drinks at receptions or formal parties. Did you bring it here to eat? You should have been eating something more delicious. I saw a lot earlier. No, I don't think you ate anything. It was both funny and admirable to see that I was not allowed to drink on an empty stomach. I felt like I was watching the social life that I had experienced only in Korea. Say hello, thank you for the food, and then put the food in my mouth. I suddenly experienced a hunger that I haven't felt before. Since I was savoring the canapés for a while, Anakin asked me if I'd like more. I shook my hand in embarrassment. No, it's done. I have no appetite anyway, I'll just get indigestion if I eat more. Didn't you bring your share of drinks? I cannot drink while working. Even if I allow it? If it's an order, I'll drink it, but I don't think it's important enough for you to order it. Seeing his straight expression, I suddenly wanted to play with him. I lifted his chin with a finger and smiled purposefully. What's important and what's not? I will judge. I will keep it in mind. I couldn't stand the matter-of-fact answer and burst into laughter. Anakin is the kind of person who doesn't tell jokes. I still tilted my head because I didn't know why I was crying. But I liked the fact that he understood it right away without saying anything. I would make him do a lot of things that he didn't know in the future, but it would be difficult if he was to wonder or ask. Every time. I'm kidding. I won't force you if you don't want me to. Thank you for your understanding. It's silent again. It's hard for people who prefer not to talk much. This is why I wanted to drink alcohol, but I couldn't force myself to feed him what he didn't like. I sipped my drink with the sounds of insects buzzing by, and when I got tipsy enough, I started to talk again. Tell me your story. You mean my story? Yes, any story is fine. Anakin had a rare look of bewilderment. Perhaps because of the alcohol, I started slurring at the end of my sentences. Because I'm curious about you. I was really curious about Anakin. Anyway, we were in the same boat. Just what did he do? How did he become a knight? What did he really want to do? The stories we were talking about now are the perfect side stories that won't be recorded in the world of the novel. Anakin gave a dry start. It doesn't really matter if my parents abandoned me or not because I don't remember them, and I don't miss them. Anakin was just looking at me. Now, rather than him telling his story, it was more like an answer to a question. Even on the subject of family, which makes people most emotional, it comes out dryly from him. Perhaps even when Anakin is dying, he would simply say, I'm dying. You don't always have to have parents to be happy. Some families are unhappy because of their parents. I grew up as an orphan and left before adulthood because I was old enough to earn more than begging, and I met the child you met. Come to think of it, I didn't hear his name. What's his name? Anakin shook his head at my question. He said he didn't like his name. He said he was going to create a new one, so ask him the next time you see him. Okay, then I'll ask you something else. Is there anything else you wanted to be besides a knight? Why did you choose knighthood? I couldn't use my brain because I didn't learn anything. I barely learned how to write. I don't know, I'm not a very good mercenary, and if it wasn't for you, I might have become a mercenary one day. His words made me laugh again. Knights only have to serve one master, but mercenaries had to socialize with most people in the guild. If you don't build friendship, no matter how good you are, you will be kicked out of the political fight. Anakin just stared at me, not understanding my thoughts. I think you'd look good as a wanderer, you know what I do? A wandering knight who wanders alone and gets paid to help anyone who needs help. Sometimes the price is food, sometimes lodging, sometimes gold coins. After work, everyone wants to catch the wanderer, but the wanderer leaves again and walks on his own path without dwelling in the world. If this novel was a male-oriented novel, he might have been the main character. I finished drinking and left my glass. Without hesitation, I looked up to the stars, and noticed that the stars that embroidered the sky were different from the Korean constellations. I once again realized that I was in a different world. I quietly asked Anakin. The stars are beautiful. Do you know any constellations? Constellation. The red dragon and the divine, oh, that's the woodcutter. Anakin raised his hand and pointed to the stars one by one. Then he gently connected the stars and showed me the constellations. The constellations are infinitely unfamiliar, but he was so familiar with the way he draws constellations that I wanted to cry a little. Wrong. It no longer feels like he is made of letters in a book. Someday if I die, Anakin will surely be penalized. Maybe he will blame me. It's not just Anakin. Helena. The maids of the mansion. How many innocent people do I need to sacrifice to leave here? What will happen to these people when I leave? Are they going to die? If that's the case, I just wish the world would be ruined with a flood of stars, so that if I die, those who suffer, and those who caused them to suffer will die. We stood around under the stars for a long time. It was too long to wait for the sun. How did this story make you feel? Oh, how I adore this one. It defies every cliché, every trope, it's not your usual fantasy. It's haunting, tragic, and deeply moving. The female lead's helplessness isn't romanticized, it's real, and it hurts. The story bravely exposes the ugliness of human behavior, of survival, of manipulation. For once, we have a protagonist who longs to return, not to escape trauma, but to go back to the love she left behind. A simple, imperfect family. A home she truly misses. Each character is carefully crafted, layered with flaws, pain, and truth. There's no idealization here, only raw humanity. The world this manhwa paints feels bleak but genuine, and it mirrors reality in a way that's hard to ignore. Themes like despair, suicide, and emotional isolation are delicately yet unapologetically woven into the narrative. Some lines strike like poetry, unsettling and thought-provoking. You're not just reading, you're feeling. This manhwa is a rare treasure. A heartbreaking masterpiece. It's one of the very few stories where I sincerely wish for the FL's peace. I long for her to return to her world, without a love interest, without romantic entanglements, just a quiet, well-earned freedom. For Part 2, Type Eris and Anakin. How did this story make you feel? I really hope it touched your heart, even just a little. Do share your thoughts in comments.